Hi, I'm Alicia and welcome to my channel Papercraft Secrets. Today I'm sharing a set of 3 cards that I made with the Mintay fussy cutting paper books. These are the books that I used to create the cards. The tag book, the door book, the window book, the wing book, and the basic book number 3, which is the rainbow colours. I fussy cut all of these things out and have them ready in my little tray so that I can use these when I create my cards. I'm starting with some 12 by 12 cardstock, and I'm cutting the 12 by 12 cardstock to 8 by 8 inches. So it's an 8 by 8 inch square, and then I'm going to fold it in half to create a slimline card. So because we're making 3 cards today, we're going to need 3 12 by 12 sheets of paper, and we're going to cut those 12 by 12 sheets down into an 8 by 8 inch square and then fold them in half. I'm going to use 2 green pieces of cardstock and 1 blue piece of cardstock, but you can use any color. You could use white. Whatever you've got in your collection at home is fine. Our next step is to take the basic book, number 3, and we're going to use these papers as a background for our cards. So the measurements that we're going to cut the background papers down to is 3 3/4 inches by 7 3/4 inches. So it's just a few little trims to get the background paper to fit nicely onto the card base, and it'll have a little border around the edge showing the original color of the cardstock. So for this I have chosen yellow and purple and pink. I'm going with pastel colors. These cards have an Easter spring feel to them, and then we're going to use the little scraps that we cut off to create another layer on the card. So we have scraps from the cardstock, the 12 by 12 cardstock, and we also have scraps from the rainbow colored paper that we're going to utilize into our card. So the scrap from the cardstock, we need to cut that down to 2.5 by 7.5 inches. Two and a half by 7.5. Okay, so we'll have 3 strips of 2.5 by 7.5 inches. Then we're going to trim a scrap from the rainbow paper, and that will be 7.25 by whatever that scrap measurement is. Let me check that for you. Now you can have a play around with the colors here, depending on what color you'd like. So the measurement for that little scrap was 7.25 by 3.25. So it's again just having a little border showing the cardstock in the background just to add a little bit more colour to the card. Again, you can make your measurements whatever measurements you like. This is just what I did. If you prefer to make a shorter card or a skinnier card, you know, feel free. This is just one way of doing it. So now we're just gluing all of these down. So we've got the rainbow coloured cardstock, the rainbow coloured paper being glued onto the cardstock. So we're doing the little scrap rectangle and gluing that down. And then we're doing the larger rectangle card base and gluing that down. We're not gluing the small rectangle onto the base of the card yet, because we're going to use some cardboard to create a 3D effect. Now these are tags that come from the Mintay tag book, and I'm going through to choose 3 pretty tags that I can use on these cards. These are the tags that I've chosen and that I previously cut out of the tag book. I'm going to be using some purple ink to ink the edges of the tags. I'm going to give these cards a bit of a purple feel, but you could use any ink that you have at home. The next step is to get some recycled cardboard and to cut a little piece for each of the tags. I'm going to glue that cardboard onto the back of each of the tags so that we're beginning to create some dimension on our cards. The next step is to get some more recycled cardboard, and this is going to go on the back of our smaller rectangular strip. So we're just gluing that recycled cardboard now onto the back of our rectangle strip. And that's going to add some dimension to our card. Our next step is to take a hole punch, and we're going to punch a hole into each of the 3 tags. Then we're going to cut some crinkle ribbon, and we're going to put it through the hole and tie it into a bow. I've chosen purple crinkle ribbon for my cards because I've chosen a purple lavender theme. The next step is to choose some windows from the window book. You will need 1 window per card. You can choose any of the windows that you like out of the window book. We're also going to need a butterfly from the wings book. So you can choose 1 butterfly per card, and again the colours are completely up to you. There's so many beautiful butterflies to choose from. The next step, I'm going to use some bits and pieces from the Flora Book 4, which is the Spring and Easter book. They have beautiful wreaths in this book, so I'm going to use a wreath on each of the cards. Now we have the main elements of the card ready. I'm going to glue down my rectangular strip onto the base of the card. Next, I'm going to use some more recycled cardboard on the back of each of my window. This again adds some dimension to the card. I chose a piece of this beautiful paper. It's the Dreamer collection by Mintay. I'm looking for a big fussy, a big floral cluster of flowers that I can fussy cut. So I've chosen that pink one there. Plus there's this purple one here that I'm going to fussy cut out. And there's another one on this part of the page here. That I'm going to cut out. And there's another smaller one here. Now you could choose a floral cluster from any of the Mintay papers that you have at home, because all you need is a nice big beautiful floral cluster that's designed by Corolla. So have a look through your papers and see if you can find one that might suit. I then went through and fussy cut all of those out, and now I have some beautiful designs that I can add into my card. So the plan with these is for them to sit underneath a window. Once you pop that floral cluster underneath, you can see how the leaves just poke out. I actually cut that in half so that I can spread it out a little bit and get more of the foliage and the flowers popping out on each side of the window. You won't notice that it's cut in half because the window covers it up. I don't want them hanging too far over the edge of the card because I don't want them bending when the card's opened, and I want them to fit in some sort of envelope. So I'm going to cut this one in half as well, so that I can get the maximum benefit from all of my fussy cutting work. I kind of like my leaves going up as opposed to going down. That's just a personal preference. There we go. So now the floral clusters are in, and that's time to glue those down. So you can see how I've glued that one on top of the rectangular scrap, and this one is going on top of the tag. So they're actually going on different levels of the card, so that creates the dimensional effect. I'm happy now. I'm going to glue my tag down. I feel that it can go down and be secured. I'm going to glue my window down. I'm going to work on this card next. I'm going to pop that little bit on the rectangular scrap. And the other 3 bits are going to be glued onto the tag below the window. So I've got 1 bit there on the side. I'm just going to glue this tag down so that it's secure. One bit at the top, just going to fill in that top space. I'm tossing up whether I'm putting a little bit down there underneath the card just to add a little bit of decoration at the bottom. I like that, that looks nice. So I'll glue that one down underneath the tag for an extra layer and a bit more colour because that one doesn't have much purple in it. I've put some foam dots on the bottom of the wreaths so that the wreaths are going to have their own dimension as well. I'm going to add a little bit of cheesecloth into the center of the wreath, and this will just soften because there's so much paper layers in this card. I feel that it just needs a little bit of soft fabric to just soften up the layers a little bit. So I'm going to pop that underneath the wreath so it just doesn't cover it up, but it just adds a little bit of different texture into the card. And then I'll glue the butterfly on top of the cheesecloth. I'm using some gorgeous Prima flowers to just add a floral bloom to the card. Of course, you could use any flowers that you have, or you could make your own. Just adding the wreath in on top of the cheesecloth, and then the butterfly on top of that. Then a little flower in the same position down the bottom there. You don't need a lot of cheesecloth, it's a tiny amount. It just a little bit goes a long way. Pop down the wreath and add in the butterfly. I'm loving these cards, they're just so pretty. The colors, I just love pastel colors. The colors are just gorgeous. And I love all of the leaves and the butterflies and the flowers and the crinkled ribbon. It's gorgeous. This is a little fussy cut image from the Floral book number 4, which is the spring Easter one. And so are these tiny little flowers. Anything out of this little drawer here is out of the Spring and Easter book, which is a gorgeous book. I'm just not sure about that big purple leaf there. I'm actually going to cut that off. Sometimes you change your mind, right? It just felt like it was sticking out a little bit too far. I'm just going to move it up. Yeah, somewhere there, so it's just not so sticking out. That's better. Now I'm going to add a sentiment to each card. I use sentiments from the cardboard sticker sheet from a variety of Mintay collections that I already had. So you could choose any sentiments. I'm keeping these fairly generic so that these cards can be used for a wide variety of occasions. These cards are almost finished now. I'm adding in another fussy cut floral image from the Spring and Easter book, just under the tag there, and another little flower in there. Some more flowers down here. There's another one there just going under the corner of that tag, poking out on either side. Some of these flowers. Another one there on the corner of the tag. And some flowers down there. And another flower in under that top of the window. Oops, no, that one's going out. We're just having that little bloom there. Just to fill in that space a little bit. We're going to glue on our sentiments now so that they stay nice and secure. Sometimes the cheesecloth doesn't let the three-dimensional dots stick, so you do have to just add some glue to the bottom of the dots to make sure that they're going to stick securely. You don't want things falling off the card. They're looking so pretty. I felt like a little twine bow might just add to the ribbon at the top. So I'm just going to do a little bow over the top of each of the ribbons. Obviously this is optional, and if you don't like this look, you don't have to do it. You could just leave the crinkled ribbon on its own. This kind of just gives a little bit more shabby chic feel, I think, to the cards. I'm going to add a large flat-backed pearl on top of each of those twine bows to add a little bit of class to the cards, bring a little bit more sparkle into them. I'm going to cut some more papers from the rainbow pad, 3 3/4 by 7 3/4, and this is going to go on the inside of each of the card as another layer on the inside of the card, and this just balances the heaviness of the front cover of the card out a little bit, and it also gives you a nice place to write a message on the card. Whoops, that was a bit short. Oh, the head goes in the hands. I didn't want to waste any of that beautiful rainbow paper, and I was a bit sad that I did. Never mind. It's probably getting a bit late in the night now. I have to take another piece. I have to sacrifice another piece of my beautiful rainbow pad to the cards now. So we're just going to glue those in. Coming up to the end of the cards now, they're looking really, really pretty. It's just the last little finishing touches to go. I'm going to use some glitter glue on the butterfly's wings to give a little bit of extra sparkle to the card. And my very last step is to sprinkle it with some misting spray. This is white cheesecloth misting spray. It will dry a little bit softer than what you're seeing here, but it just adds a tiny little bit of a mixed media effect, and it just adds to the card a little bit. So just popping that on the top for a little bit of extra. And that's the cards. I hope you loved this tutorial. I had such a great time creating these cards. I just adore the colors and I adore Carola's designs. If you like this video, please check out my other videos and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely crafty day.